So here we go with yet another small scale build, and as you can see we are going to try this Maxx Pro kit from Galaxy Hobby. Again, it's a 1/72 scale model, and here you can see comparison with my hand. The box is small, so it means we are dealing with a really tiny kit, which is not that, I would say, suffering because of the size. We have a lot of features implemented in such a small scale, and I recommend to check the full video review with this kit, because there I show all the parts closer. Here in this video we will be building this model. That's why I'm taking the assembly manual first, and as you can see, if we open it here, everything starts with the main chassis. So we'll have to reassemble all together all these chassis bars. As far as I can see, there will be also some PE engaged, and here straight away you can say that, for example, this PE, as you can see, it is noted as a P22, so P parts start with the letter P, which is rather interesting designation for the P parts. And I think it's not mentioned here, it's only written P, which is a bit confusing. Nevertheless, we do not work with this PE turret because it's not supplied for this kit. We'll check it in a different build, if you know what I mean. Here we'll be dealing with the plastic parts, but still my plan is to try to leave the suspension and the chassis separate from the car body, so that it will be easier to paint first and then to weather all together when they will be combined. But we will see how the fitment will go, and the first step will be to separate this part B18 and connect it together with A49. So let's start. Here I would like to show you that we have also pins on the chassis bars. They will have to be removed with the sharp cutters, because otherwise they will interfere with the overall assembly. And of course, do not remove these tabs on the top of the leaf springs, because they will be used for the positioning. So the lower part of the chassis is ready. Here you can see both axles installed. In some cases it was necessary to apply some pressure. For example, here you have to slide the part over the bar, but that's pretty much all. And note that we are already working with PE parts, so it's quite interesting sequence. Next one is the lower section of the hull. So before I show the full build here, I have to give some consent and also some context on the why I decided to install all the parts. So currently I'm waiting for the masks for the clear parts, but my idea is to paint the interior first. That's why I decided it might be worth to install all the PE parts. And as you can see, interior will stay open for now, so roof will be installed separately, and that's why it might be easier to paint and then just to close it and work on the camouflage. So overall, I would say quality of this kit is really good. So if I place it in the rear here, you can see a lot of PE parts which require some due care because it's a 1/72 scale after all. But fitment is nice, and if you pay attention to the assembly manual, which can be cumbersome sometimes, you can get a really good result. So now it will be a matter of covering everything with a primer and then continuing with the interior painting and then installing all the clear parts a bit later and then having everything camouflaged. Desert tan color. So I used the basic shade. As you can see, it is applied on all the surfaces. I did not use the lighter shade because in my opinion in this scale it doesn't play any role and it will not improve the look of the model, because in this size it will be too accentuated even with the filters applied. But it's my approach, so it's up to you whether you would like to do so. And also the reason is that we will use slightly different color. You will see it further in this video report. Where I used the darkened shade is actually here in the wheel arches and also on the bottom of the vehicle, because it was necessary to somehow at least accentuate the shades, and the same was about the place behind these armor shields. But that's pretty much all where I used this darkened shade. And maybe where I also applied it is the interior. Here you can see it prominently in the middle of the bars. I think it adds a bit of volume, but obviously the next step will be to properly paint the interior with a brush, obviously, because otherwise it will be difficult to reach. And then what we will be doing is closing the roof, also installing the front glass because I finally have the masks arrived, closing the side windows. These ones will be closed with the stickers, also installing the rear windows here, and then applying the new color, which you'll see, as I said, further in this video where I will show you the next layer. So here you can see a model on the intermediate stage, let's say. So we have all the parts installed, we have digital camouflage applied, and also clear parts installed. I have here, for example, headlamps imitated with help of Molotov chrome pen, and also I made the aerials, as you can see. So these were made with stretch sprue. It just adds a bit of visual interest. Also here you can see the turret already painted and masked, and of course if we look at the back side, so here we have the ramp installed. And this basically concludes the build, but I also have to apply the pigments. So for the pigments I will be using this one. As you can see, it's a Russian Earth from MEAP, and here we have also Europe Earth. So the color difference, you can see this one is lighter, this one is darker, and I think it will be really important to apply at least a bit on the lower part so that wheels will not be that shiny and it will be a bit weathered vehicle. So let's start. So here you can see the final version of the whole build. I applied the pigments, as I mentioned, from MEAP. As you can see, it was, I would say, applied in a quite small amounts on the side panels, on the wheels, also on the front bumper, also on the rear panels. And you can see that I decided not to make it like really overly used. Nevertheless, it's still a bit added the visual interest to the model, even though we also have here this nice green color. And if I turn it from this side, you can see that these wheels are also weathered as well. And of course we have the rear ramp extended, so if I bring it like this, here you can see it. Also note the tail lights, they look quite nice. As I mentioned, I decided to make the aerials with help of the thin sprue. And also these P parts, I have to say that it's actually possible to paint all this stuff without the masks, so that's something to consider. And overall I have to say that it was quite an interesting build. So while this model is not that huge, as you can see, so if I place it like this, do not forget that, for example, one square here measures 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and this model does not take a lot of space. It's 1/72 scale after all, so that's why it's a lot of fun working with all these fine features and trying to install them in a most, I would say, convincing way, which will look like a real vehicle. The only maybe tricky part is the turret, to paint all these clear sections, and maybe I will try to give you the look in the interior. So the main feature behind these vehicles, what is the marking option here I chosen, is the same marking as the vehicles which are operating on Ukraine, which were donated to the Ukrainian army. That's why the main feature here is that they were painted really quickly in the field conditions, and they were applied this green color on the outer surfaces, while interior remains in sand color. I actually saw some photos which feature even the turret. By the way, turret is not glued yet. So even the turret was finished in the sand color, but I decided to go with this one. Also some vehicles featuring the digital camouflage which I applied, so I would call it as a not exact marking option. It's more of a combination of several markings which I saw on the photos from the battlefields. Nevertheless, it's quite interesting combination because, as you can see, it bases on the sand colored camouflage which was originally applied to these Pro Maxxes, and that's why it makes it a bit more interesting. And of course you can find a lot of photos worldwide, so if you would like to see what this vehicle look like, you'll find it. And actually one more interesting note is that even sand colored vehicles still operating as well in winter conditions, which is rather strange in my opinion, so you can find these photos as well. As for this model, I can say that the whole build was really good. I liked the experience with this kit, even though assembly manual in some moments, as you saw in the video, it is not as clear as it could be. You can also make use of some more understandable schemes, and I will also show it a bit more in the Instagram report, so if you're not subscribed to our Instagram profile, I really recommend. But for the whole kit, I think it's a real fun. It shows that in 1/72 scale you still can build a really detailed vehicle. So if you're searching for a build Pro Maxx in 1/72 scale, this is definitely a good thing to try. And of course, if you have something to say, write it in the comment section. If you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.